Hey, thanks a lot for uh, agreeing to meet with me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, my pleasure, Jay. It's a pleasure meeting you. So I'm excited to meet with you and get some, good chat in.
All right. Now, do you go by Christos or just by Chris?
Just by Chris. Crystals is just a little, Facebook name. So back when I had an IT job, people wouldn't find me from work.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's a great name. It's Greek, I'm assuming, right?
No, I'm actually Mexican.
Oh, you're Mexican,
Yes.
but you decided to go with the Greek spelling of Christos.
Yes.
Okay, I like it. I like
Ah,
it.
thanks.
Yeah. So you're in Europe currently, correct?
Yep, that's right.
Wow. So where in Europe are you?
So right now I'm in Poland. So I'm in Warsaw, Poland currently.
Poland. It
Yeah.
must be cold there now.
Yeah, it's freezing. It's pretty much like probably the same temperature as maybe Michigan. I'm from originally from Green Bay, so it's probably about the same. It's freezing
Okay.
here.
So you know about the mid Michigan, the Midwestern cold snaps up here in the Midwest North.
Yeah, the snow, the cold, the ice. Yeah, very
Okay.
familiar with it.
So why are you in Poland?
Yeah, long story short. So when I started traveling was back when the pandemic started. I have a Canadian friend. We flew out together to Ukraine,
Mhm.
and then from Ukraine, then I met a girlfriend there. We moved to Dubai. So just before the war, she got a job there, so we moved there,
Mhm.
and then became single. So I'm like, I'm not going to stay living in Dubai. So then I moved over to Poland. That's where a lot of my friends moved over here too. So
Mhm.
been here about 5 months now, almost 6 months.
Okay. Now is hate to bring this up, but is the skirmish that's in the south of you there, is that affecting you guys at all?
No, not at all. I mean, there's a lot of refugees, a lot of immigration coming in. All is good. It's far away. We're in NATO, so if something were to happen here, the U.S. would step in. But it's safe. It's clean. It's an amazing city. That's why I've been here for such a long time. I really enjoy it here.
Is it cheaper to live there than here in America?
A lot cheaper by a lot.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So your dollar really goes a long way over there then.
Yeah, very far. So I mean, like taxis, going out to eat, it's, getting food delivered, just, pennies on a dollar.
Awesome, awesome. So, and the reason why I'm bringing up all these questions is one, I'm trying to get to know you a little bit, but also because that brings us into the subject of why we're on this meeting, right? Which is you doing long distance um, CEO work for your moving company.
Yeah,
All right. First, let's get into your moving company. When did you start your moving company?
sure. So yeah, I started a little presentation. I can share my screen here with you. I can tell my,
Yeah,
my story.
yeah, I'd love that.
Sure.
All right, there we go.
All right. So I made a nice little presentation here for you.
Oh, okay, great.
All right. So here's my story. So basically, when I started my company and everything like that, and how I got to basically from this, which is my bank account when I first started my company, only $1.41 in my checking account and zero in my savings. So I always knew I want to become a business owner. However, this was the reality. I didn't have any money to start my own business. This was in 2017, so just over 5 years ago when I started my company.
You started
And
with more than I did.
yeah, yeah, a little dollar and some change. So, but yeah, I noticed like this is when the housing market started to pick up again, and it'd be nice to get into real estate, but however, this was the reality. So I thought to myself, hey, if there's all these people buying homes that are moving, they probably need somebody to help them. So I went, and this was my company. I drew a little logo and named my company is Mover. These two little guys here moving a box. And just simply started telling people that I had a moving company. I didn't have any trucks. I didn't have equipment. I didn't have tools. Matter of fact, I didn't even have any training. So I didn't know anything about the moving business. I just knew that, there should be a market for this. And sure enough, this was my first client. And that's me right there moving the TV.
Boat anchors.
Yeah. Yeah. So went head in deep and, booked this out, and, within a month, I had to dig in and learn as much as I could about the moving industry, how to move things. At this point, I didn't even know how to take apart a bed. I was, I was basically the most unhandy person you can think of. So I really didn't know what I was doing, but, I had that month to really, investigate and try to find out as much as information as I could about, how the moving industry works, and, how to properly move things without gabbaging things. And of course, this one was, very intimidating because it's such a large house and expensive things, as you can imagine, in, a house like this. And, there's a quote that my first customer told me: success of your business will be determined by your first customer. So basically what she said is that, if you do a good job with your first customer and they're happy with you, that your business will be successful. And sure enough, she hired us 3 more times. So yeah, everything is going well. And here's my setup, my little trailer here. So I bought this little trailer on Craigslist. I got a call from a furniture company asking if I can do deliveries for them, and I showed them my setup, and they were okay with it. If you look closely here at the little tail lights, these tail lights are actually broken. I taped on some bicycle lights so I wouldn't get pulled over by the police. You do what you can, right?
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, and so did that for a while, and it was going well, making deliveries and stuff. But as you can see, with the weather, snow, rain, becomes a problem, delivering furniture. So their corporate office actually stopped by, and let's just say they weren't so impressed with our setup here. So we got fired. They let us go, and at the time, this part was like, just getting started. The money was coming in. I mean, it wasn't that much money, but as far as, getting business steady, work coming in, it was just amazing. But, for their corporate office to come in and just give us the boot, for something at the time I couldn't control, which is to get a box truck. So I couldn't control that part. I simply just didn't have the money. So I did what I could, just kept doing jobs, renting trucks. And then I ended up getting a phone call from another furniture company. And, I told them, the same thing. I was honest with them. I said, hey, here's my situation. I do, like, I'll do these for you. I'll do the deliveries. However, this is what I have. I just have this little trailer. At the time, completely honest, like, I didn't have, the insurance. I didn't have anything. So they said, you know what, we'll wait for you to, to save up to buy your truck, to get all your insurances together and all that. And so I saved everything I could and went all in and purchased, our first truck. And they promised us the world that, that they would, give us all this work. They wanted us, 6-7 days a week, all day long, all day, every day, and all these, delivering furniture all to different cities. And then by the time I was able to save up the money to purchase the truck, they let me know that they didn't need us anymore, that they had their own crew, they had a truck there. And, that part was like, it's just another setback. I invested all this money. It wasn't for anything, because of course, I can use this truck for moves and it'd pay off, but, to be promised the world and then to be told that, that they simply just don't need us anymore was, it was just another hit there. And then I ended up getting a phone call from them. And they said, hey, can you start doing deliveries for us? I said, sure. Like, every day. I was like, yes. All day. I'm like, yes. Why? And it turned out that their crew crashed their truck. So yeah. So, I mean, it was unfortunate, they crashed the truck, the team, they lost their jobs. I mean, but it was great for us because we can come in and start doing deliveries. They went under a low bridge and, crashed, and they gave everybody the boot there.
Yeah, I was going to say they went under a low bridge with that one.
Yeah. So this was my big break. This is where, I got all the work, and then I got, this is a major chain that it's a really big, it's corporate, it's a really big, furniture store here. we started doing multiple locations from them too. So, we were able to get the money together to purchase, more trucks, grow the company. Here's my fleet here. And that was the big break there. That's when I was able to get my bankroll up and just reinvest all the funds, into my business, and just keep reinvesting, keep growing, at the time, like that was my focus, is just to grow as fast as possible, as quickly as possible. I just wanted to, grow to the 7 figures like immediately. And that was my goal there. However, this is when, I thought I had everything together, and I felt this was, the time that I would make the leap of faith, and I would start traveling. I would start traveling the world, and this was my opportunity, that everything was running smooth, that I would go out and see the world. And I only planned to be gone for a month and a half, and I thought to myself that everything would work out, everything would piece itself together. And sure enough, as soon as I left, basically my whole company lit on fire. I felt like a firefighter, just putting out fires, trucks breaking down, crews breaking items, guys not showing up. I didn't have really any systems in place. I didn't have anything, but I was determined to not come back. Looking back, this is by far the most irresponsible decision I could have ever made. However, it was the best decision ever made, because I went through all this. I was forced to put in my systems, put in my processes, get everything here together. This is something that, most people, they don't put their materials together because, everything's working. They can put up the fires, or they can, they're there, but I'm across the world. I can't just go there and, figure these problems out myself, like physically there. I have, I was put in a corner where I was forced to, put in some kind of process, put in some kind of training, hire some people, to take care of this. And what was the result is that I started building my SOPs. I started doing my training videos. I started building out my courses. I started automating everything I could, because I realized that, how much money was going out the window from items, breaking, from losing sales, because I'm in a whole different time zone. I'm sleeping, when, calls are coming in at 2:00 in the morning, and it's, 5 p.m. in the States. It's very difficult. I had to figure out a system where, if something were to happen, I'd say I'm sleeping, which this did happen, is where, these, my trucks break down. What do they do? This is an actual example of, how to call a tow truck and, get them towed over to our mechanic, and, what to do, what to say, and all that. And same thing with my courses, where anybody could jump in, and even someone who's not familiar with the moving industry can go through, my materials and be able to call a tow truck in, and, tell them exactly where my truck is, to tell them exactly, which mechanic, and, what to do, and make sure this and make sure that it all taken is care of. So, thankfully this was the result of, my irresponsibility of just taking off when I shouldn't have. But this was, I decided to do something about it, which was to systemize and automate my business. So that was, the result. And finally, since I've done this, is me from a month ago, out in the, the Caribbean, without a cell phone, my business running, finally to be able to get off the truck, to get off the phone and just do whatever I want. If a friend asked me, hey, let's go to, and this is the last month, hey, let's go to the Caribbean, and, flew out to the Caribbean, stayed there for 3 weeks, going to the beach. I didn't have a cell phone with me, and, my business just continued to run, all my sales, my team, like all that was just continued to run because of my systems, because of the results of my irresponsibility. It was the result of, producing such great, processes, and, hiring a good team and all that. So this is, the result. And I don't recommend people to do this. I took the extreme route of, of doing that. And, that's how I just, cut through my learning curve. And I'll discuss later on, better ways to do this versus, what I did and losing tons of money in sales and, the headaches of, getting calls from customers and teams and all that.
I got a real quick question, if I may interject.
Sure.
All right. I'm a little confused. Okay. You built up, you got 5-6 trucks there. It looks like you bought them from U-Haul and Penske, which is awesome. I think that's a smart thing, although U-Haul does not sell trucks anymore at all, completely done, which is sad. But hey, that's all right. You still got Penske and budget trucks and used enterprise trucks. Now you have those, 6 trucks there.
Yeah.
At that point, were you doing 7 figures at that point, or were you around that point? How much were you doing gross roughly?
Roughly at that time, I was doing around 200,000.
You were doing around 200,000 a year or a month?
Yeah, a year.
A year. Okay. That's not, well, I mean, okay. And I noticed that they were the 15, 16 foot trucks. So if you got a real big house, you had to do multiple trucks or several trips, basically.
Yeah. So basically on a move, we'd always bring over 2 trucks, just 2 trucks. So we'd always bring over the 2 trucks to equal out to one large truck. So right. Yeah, it's an important thing to know too, is that, I didn't have, I have really small company when I first started, doing this. I wasn't like in the big, the big boy range where, making millions or hundreds of thousands a month. Like I was still at the very beginner stage, but that's when, looking back, if we were having the conversation and I told you, Jay, like, I want to start traveling, and you look at my numbers and, my situation, like, what the heck are you doing? Stay where you are.
Right. So I definitely would advise you not to have left your company. I would have said, build up a team, get some sales, a sales force, get yourself at least an operations manager, if not a general manager. Right.
Yeah.
That's what I would have told you. Now that brings up a question. Just before you took off and you made that irresponsible move, fortunately for you, you're the type of person to make it go right, which is awesome. Hats off to you. Did you actually hire somebody or put somebody in charge to run the day-to-day and make the sales and stuff? Or were you still doing the sales and stuff like that from your travels?
Yeah, great question. So I did have somebody in charge on the ground, and they were able to answer phone calls, but for the most part, I was doing most of the sales. I was still answering the phone calls. I was doing a lot of the work. I had a main person on the ground, and as well as a couple other leads and so on and so forth. But as far as sales, the main operations, dispatcher, supervisor, that was me.
Wow. So that must have been extremely stressful. So you're out there, you're in the Bahamas, you're in the Caribbean, you're probably, Puerto Rico or something like that, sipping on a margarita, and the boys are calling you and saying, hey, the truck is broke down. What do I do? So that must have been pretty stressful. Or trying to do estimates. I mean, doing estimates over the phone, unless it's a small, like 1-bedroom, even a 2-bedroom apartment, you could get away with it. But if you're doing a big 3-bedroom or plus house, I mean, you got to actually go and do physical walkthrough estimates, in my opinion, to really get good, accurate quotes. So how did you handle that?
Yeah, great. Another great question too. So I would have, someone else and that would go and, FaceTime me or do a video call, and I'd go through and, ask a question. So it'd put me on a video call, and they can pretty much bring me anywhere. It'd bring me to job sites, it'd bring me to estimates, it'd bring, I do video calls with the customers, but then I would also do like, I would send over someone from my team, and, they would do the video call, and I could just basically as if I was there.
Right. So and the reason why I'm asking these questions is not to get personal or in your business necessarily. It's to determine where your hot spots are, if you will, the problem areas. So you were able to take these problem areas and then turn those problem areas into systems and processes.
Yep.
Right. So you going off you going off to wherever you were going off and doing your traveling, it really showed you where the breakdowns were happening, or where the stalls and the stops in your business were at, correct?
Yeah, exactly. It's learn the hard way. It's a lot of hard lessons. So I learned a lot, and I could, every day I was reminded where I needed to improve.
All right, cool. I'm assuming there's more to your presentation.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
yeah.
Please continue then. Don't let me stop you.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll keep going. All right. So I do have a case study. So I have this where I've implemented in other businesses, aside from my own, which is, moving. So this is one of my close friends, Josh. He's a YouTuber, and he came to me, and he realized, I told him what I was doing, and he was quite impressed. That had a physical company, and most people when they're traveling, they do something online. They do e-commerce, or they do, I don't know, YouTube or whatever they do. Mm-hmm. But it's mostly online. I'm the only one out of my whole group that has an actual physical company in the States. So he came to me, and he's like, he's got a team of people, and his specialty is viral videos. So he does viral videos on the internet, pranks. If you've ever seen like the gold digger prank, he's
that's him.
That's him.
Where he goes, hey, you want to go on a date? She says no, and then he goes and gets into his like Bugatti or Ferrari.
Yeah, that's him.
I've seen some of those. Those are hilarious.
Yeah, so that's him. So he does those pranks, and so I mean, he's been doing this for over 10 years. So he understands the psychology of, what makes a viral video. He knows, how to record content. His I guess his sticking point is editing. He knows how to go through a video, and right now he's focusing on short form content. So like shorts, 30 seconds or less. Mm-hmm. And he has these videos. He was over here at my place, and he showed me he's got all these hard drives. He's got hours and hours and hours of content, podcasts that are 2, 3, 4 hours long. And he chops these up into 30 seconds and makes them viral. So he has a team, he's got an editor, and he's got, some other social media people and whatever. But at the time, he didn't have a system in place to quickly produce this content, as in to edit it, to make it, to be able to go viral. And he didn't have a training process for his new hires. He's got editors, like he's hiring for a whole production team. He had one over in Bali, and now he's hiring a new team to help him produce his videos. And he's spending so much of his time to go through and edit his videos that, he can't produce content as quickly as he wants to, because he has an editor, but this editor doesn't know his formula or really understand his formula of what makes a video go viral. So he reached out to me, and he asked me for some tips, and I gave him my recommendation was first and foremost to go through and record a video as if I'm sitting next to him. I know nothing about creating viral content or editing some video in Final Cut. I've never worked in this at all. But I told him this. I said, just imagine I'm sitting next to you, and you're explaining to me, how to go through the 3-hour podcast, how to go through this and cut the clips where, it would, in a sense, go viral. And so he went through and he talked through all the points. Okay, so this is an interesting story. This could inspire people. This is a quote with an explanation. These are the steps or the tips to become successful or become a better person. These are, this would be a good hook, a good, attention grabber. So he goes through this 3-hour, podcast, and he breaks down all the pieces that makes a video go viral, the short form content. And he goes through, and I said, once you have that down, then go and make your SOP. And what I did, I sent him my templates, and then also I sent him over an SOP of how to create an SOP. So it breaks down, what does each section need? What do you need to put in there? So just to give you a little overview, and we'll go in later throughout this presentation, we'll create a process and then build it together from video to SOP, and then we'll go all the way to automate it at the end. So
excellent. Love that.
Yeah. So I really broke it down to him, like, what he needs to include in this SOP. Just to put it short before we get into the more detailed version, but basically is the record video that's more in depth, that's more detailed step by step, and the SOP is more of a it's a bird eyes view. It's just high level. An editor, they know how to use this Final Cut Pro. They know how to speed up to 1.5 to 2x to save time on editing. They know how to do that, so they don't need to go through the video to learn how to do that. Myself, complete beginner, I would have to go through the video to see, okay, where does he make this video go faster or whatever. So he did this, and then he implemented this into his workflow. So he's got a team of people, editors, the whole 9 yards. And then with that, I had him automate this. So to schedule this, so he started doing this weekly. And these are the basics of what it takes to automate something. So you have to put in either a scheduled time or a triggered time. So if your truck breaks down, then do this. Or if this is a daily task, a weekly task, monthly task. Next, it has to be assigned to somebody. So in this case, it was the editor. And then you have to provide his, the resources that he needs, which is the SOP, the video, and then in his case, the Google Drive. So that's where he stores his videos, and he has folders where every phase of the video, this is the raw footage, this is the edited footage, and then you have your deliverable. So this is where you take out the part of, hey, did you do this yet? Hey, Joe, did you finish finishing this video? Hey, Jake, did you do that? This takes apart from pecking on people of did you do this? So you have to have some kind of deliverable where you prove that the work is complete. And then in his case, that video gets moved from the raw footage over to the edited folder and it's submitted for approval. So once he approves that, then either he moves it back to the folder or he moves it forward to his other, his social media assistant to schedule it and put in the calendar.
I love how you did that, where you've isolated and identified the actual workflow, right? So I'm assuming you also put that workflow into an SOP.
I'll show you in the presentation, but it's okay. You put this, I use software to create tasks. And in those tasks is the SOP and the video and all the resources you need, where anybody in your company can come in and say like, hey, I need this video edited, and can go through and, have all the resources and then, figure out how to complete this task.
Well, I'm sorry for me jumping ahead. You continue on.
Oh, for sure. Okay. So I helped him do this, and then here was the result. So the result was, here's the podcast that he went through, this one right here, and it generates 6.2 million views.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So I like that. So I like your little bullet points. Because of the systems, he was able to then create videos, which cumulative 6.2 million, right? And then it allows him just to create and put his efforts on creating the content, which is his thing, right? And he doesn't have to train his editors over and over and over again. He goes, okay, here's the system, follow this system, and boom, 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 boom. And that process is 1, 2, 3, and I like it. Love it.
Yeah. So this works. So now he's able to focus on his content, and he's building his team, it's quickly. So it's, he's got all these videos to go through, and, it takes a lot of work, as I'm sure with YouTube and, going through and making content so they're interesting, chopping down a 3-hour podcast and breaking it down to 30 seconds and make it go viral. So yeah, it's definitely works in other industries. And then I do have a testimonial from Josh that, he it's a really short testimonial, but he did a testimonial for me.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Here.
All right, so this video is a quick testimonial for my buddy Chris, where I'm talking to Sun right now. I'm here all the way in Romania. But I want to say is that Chris been helping me a lot with automation and helping with system. I'm a big YouTuber, have about 5-10 million followers total over social media. But before, I'm always just more of a one-man show and always having a hard time to, figure out the system and figure out how to automate stuff. And Chris has been really helpful and teach me a couple things, how to be more organized and how to have leverage people, to do it better. So, the point he was trying to show me is, what if I'm get sick, or what if, or God forbid, if I'm not here anymore, how can my business still be running while I'm not there, or only spend a couple hours a week to do what I do? So he's been opening my eyes a lot with lots of tools and stuff to kind of help me to create this automation and system so I can literally have more time traveling and enjoy the world. So thank you again, Chris.
I love it. That was awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, he's out traveling and he's, enjoying. And I do have, another one from another friend that I helped, he does e-commerce. So I have these, testimonials from friends and people that I've helped and really grow their companies and save time. My friend, he was spending 12 hours a day, on the computer, filling orders and then I went over to his house and I'm seeing that he's spending all this time just doing minuscule tasks. And I suggested to him, basically the same thing as creating all this. And now he's, able to focus on other things. Right now he's doing real estate. So that's really my focal point is saving time for folks and, to be more productive, focus on, growing or working on their business rather than in your business. And
good.
Yeah. And so with all this, it's really, if you look online or you try to figure this out, it's really, what I found is that it just gets overcomplicated. You look up, systems and processes online, and you get, brought over to some like ancient website, from the dinosaur age, and there's really no solid material out there of, how to really do this. So I broke mine down to 3 steps, and my method is the no extra time method. So that's, you don't sit down. I'm not sitting down writing SOPs all day long. I'm not sitting down, planning all this stuff. And later by the end of the presentation, I'll talk about how to, automating your business. So my process is simple. Basically, you just record everything that you do, you document it, and then you automate it. So then you don't have to do it all over again. And I'll go through each step in a little bit more detail of, how this all gets done. The record portion is just screen record. So I have hundreds of videos, recording my screen on my phone, recording my screen, on my computer, recording my screen. Recording, me doing tasks, even things like how to clean the truck, So I have hundreds and hundreds of videos of myself, doing tasks, and I'm just talking over them, or I just do them. And then at a later point, I do a voiceover of, what I'm going through. And really the key is to not worry about mistakes. Who cares if you stutter? Like, people think that if you're making a video, you got to have like a whole production team, great lighting, like everything's got to be perfect.
You got to bring in like a Hollywood style, thing, stunt actors and.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So that's what, people, they like, oh, I got to do this perfectly. And like, I tell them, leave the mistakes in there, because likely the person that's going through this will probably make the same mistakes. So they just leave them in there. And that way you just keep producing materials. And
real quick question on the screen recording, it's a screen record everything. What do you use? Is it just a regular screen recording, app off on Google, like one of the Google add-ons or something?
Yeah. So for my computer, I use one, it's called Camtasia, but you could also use QuickTime.
Okay.
And for your
Side
phone,
note, Camtasia is made by TechSmith, which is literally down the road from me.
oh wow,
Their headquarters, yeah.
yeah,
They're
good stuff.
over in Okemos, East Lansing, Okemos. So their headquarters is just as a side note.
Yeah, it's a good company. I like their stuff, easy to use. But you can use QuickTime, which it's free. Just go there and record your screen. That's what my buddy Josh said. He just went on QuickTime and just did a little screen recording, upload it up on private YouTube, and there you go. You're up and running.
So you upload it to you. I noticed you were using Vimeo, but Vimeo is a paid service. So
Yeah,
people can use YouTube and make it a private video.
yeah. I gotta ship my stuff over. I'm paying for stuff I shouldn't. So you can use YouTube and just privatize your videos and make things a lot easier.
All right, cool. I'm sorry. Continue on.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, that's basically the basics of recording. So you're not sitting down, taking time out of your day, just going about your day.
Right. So your equipment basically then is your computer, which could be a laptop, as long as you have the software like Camtasia software or Final Cut Pro or whatever you use, and then your cell phone, right?
Yep.
So when you do a voiceover, you're just doing a voice, you're doing like an MP4 right from your phone going through your video, I'm assuming.
Yeah, just talking over, and if I have to pause the video, just pause it and talk it through, and yeah, I mean, this is really like the easiest way just to talk through, record a video and then talk to the video, like exactly what's going on.
And the reason why I'm asking that is because people, if they ever, when they see this, they're going to go, well, what do I need to use? And just your cell phone, just use a cell phone or your computer. It's not that hard. And most businesses will have a cell phone and or computer, right? So it's like they don't have to go out and buy fancy stuff.
Yeah, and then you can even just record your screen with your cell phone on your computer. Most people do this stuff on their phone, and it's
that's a good idea. Put your phone like right back here and just screen record and video what you're doing on the computer while you're talking, doing it. I like that. Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, so no need to get a whole production crew if you will. And yeah, just go with the basics, just pop out your phone and that's it.
They didn't get my good side.
All right.
I mean, I do YouTube videos, as you know, right?
Yeah.
And my teeth are rotting out of my head. I'm going to the dentist to get them fixed, but so I get comments, everyone, your teeth are bad. I'm like, yeah, well, what can I do about it? So it's, it's not a matter of what you look like. It's just, it's really the content and, what you're putting on the screen, right? As I can, from doing my YouTube channel, right? And it's, if your content's good and you explain it effectively, then you'll get your you'll get your point across, right?
Yeah.
And if you just take a little time to prepare, like you did, like on this right now, I mean, it's just really pretty simple.
Yeah, very simple. And then once you even like this, presentation itself, you just send this off to whoever, and they'll know how to do this.
Exactly.
So,
I like it. Sorry, continue, please. I just get so excited with what you're saying because, from my own personal experience being in the moving business and being a business person in general, I really see the importance of processes and systems, right? And I think we should define what a system is and process. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but a process is the exact 1, 2, 3, 4 steps, the ABC steps that you do. And a system is a collection of those processes. So maybe if you start your day off, we'll just use the moving company as an example, right? There's going to be a process for the operations manager to set to assign and schedule the truck. Then there's a process to check the truck out, make sure there's plenty of fluids and all the lights and brakes work. And then there's a process to get the guys on the truck and then so on and so forth. Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. Sorry, continue on. I'm just so excited. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and try me anytime you like, so I can answer some questions and get you anything you like answered here.
Cool.
All right. So the document portion. So this is a really basic document. As you can see, I try to make mine as simple as possible. So I just really 4 parts to it. What this is. What is this document? Either this one I made one about a tow truck. So this is what happens, like, or what to do when the truck breaks down. My second section is the prep. So what do you need? What exactly do you need in order to complete this task? So when you give this to somebody, they can go through the prep section and see, okay, Chris, I need access to your phone system. I need access to your GPS system. I need access, to the calendar or, the job or whatever. These are the things for me to move forward. I need to have access. I need to have these, these resources or these logins or whatever. This is what I need to get this task completed. It's almost like a recipe. You need eggs, you need oil, you need, spices or whatever. These are the things you need before you start cooking. And then the next is the steps. So this is, step 1, 2, and 3. And again, this is the more high level. If you want the more detailed version, then you go over to your resources section where you have a link to the video. You have a link to, you have phone numbers, you have, places where you can find, the login information or whatever. This is, these are the goodies where this will help you get the task done. So this is the documentation process. And it's very simple. It's, it's just what you need, how to do it, and, what extras do you need?
Great.
And then we go over to the automation process. So in this part, then we'll dig into, how to really make something automated. But basically, in a nutshell of how to automate something where you're not doing this task anymore, is as we went back is it has to be scheduled or it has to be triggered by something. So, is this daily, weekly, monthly, or is this, triggered by, let's say, a breakdown, or is this triggered by, some kind of event in your business that happens? And next, you have to assign it to somebody. So who is responsible for this task to be completed? So it has to be, someone needs to be assigned to it. It can't just be like a free for all. You can't just whoever can do it. It has to be assigned, who's in charge of it, who owns this process. And then your resources. So going back to, the workflow, which we're going later about, creating the task, they need to have the resources. So when someone comes into my company and from the task that or the process we're going to create in a little bit here is they'll have everything they need in order to complete this. They'll have the SOP, they'll have the video, they'll have, the login information or whatever. And then this is the most important part. There needs to be a deliverable. So there needs to be some kind of proof that it was complete. Whether it be completed video or, a receipt or whatever, there needs to be some deliverable. So you can see in your workflow, you can see exactly how, once I show you the workflow, you'll be able to see what exactly is going on in your business, who's working on what, who did what. So you don't have to be pecking at people and, asking them, nagging them, did this get done? You'll be able to see, the deliverable. You'll be able to see what, in what step is this currently at. So that's really how, you get that really proof of completion, is having that deliverable inside your process.
Nice.
And let's get to the fun part. So we'll create an actual process. We'll get the SOP written. All right. So here's the video. So this is something that every company should have, which is to call the customer, let them know that the team's on the way. So I had a little situation where, I would have it with, our crew lead to call the customer and let them know, hey, we're on the way, everything's good to go. So they're not wondering where we're at. And it kept getting missed. It would happen, or it's supposed to be done, but I never really knew, if it didn't. There was calls that were coming and I was checking my system, and I noticed that, customers were calling asking where the team was. And I could see on the GPS that they're already on their way, and they didn't complete the step. So what I did here is I created a process for my office to do this call instead, and put it on my office team rather than, the guys on the ground. Because, they're busy, they stop at the gas station, whatever, and they might, overlook this. So now I wanted to create a system where this absolutely gets done. So I created a training video, and I'll go ahead and play. It's only a couple minutes long.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So here we go. All right. So every day we need to call the customer and let them know that they're on the way. So for example, today's customer was Steve Moore. All you have to do is just go ahead and give him a call, let him know that the guys are on the way. So whenever you start your day, check the GPS and see where the guys are at, and then call the customer and say, hey, the guys are currently tracking, let's say 10 miles away from the location, or they are tracking, in this city, they'll be there shortly. So don't ever give an exact time that they'll be there in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or whatever. Give the location of where they're at, and then relay that message over to the customer. And then if they ask for a specific time, just say roughly about, and then double the amount of minutes that it takes. So for example, if the guys were going over to Appleton, we'd go over to maps, and then we type in Appleton, Wisconsin, and then we do the directions. And let's say from the home address, it is 36 minutes. Say they'll be there in about an hour. So doubling the amount of time it takes to get to this location, just to account for, for traffic. If the guys stop for fuel, they stop at the gas station or whatever, just say, they're approximately 32 miles away if the truck is here. And then from there, go over to Trello and go over to Ring Central, and then copy if you lost the number here, all you have to do is just copy the phone number, go into Ring Central, and then download the call. So in order to do that, all you have to do is go into the phone system here and click on recordings. So call recordings, and then find the phone number. So that was today. That's the one that we need to attach. More, download, and then from there, then you go over to Trello, and then you go here, and then you will attach the attachment. It's gonna link here, so attach computer, and then go ahead and attach the phone call, and then click your tasks, boom, boom, and then X out, and then mark it as complete.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty good.
All right. So yeah, basically I just took down some notes here. So now we're gonna create our SOP. So let me get my, let's see, what was it? Template. See which one it is. Templates. Okay. All right. So here's a little template here of creating this task here. So I pretty much have everything outlined here of, what to put in here. So I'm going to go through and fill out the little sections, and this will be really quick here of, and again, it's just a, high level. If they want to get, the person that's completed this task wants to get more detailed, they just, or need more explanation, they would head over to the video and do that. Something like this, it would be, for example, Jay, if you're in my company, you know how to do the phone call. You just need to know like what software you use to, to call them or, find out, where they're at. So title this one be on the way call. Let me make a copy of this. Let's see. All right, there you go. So on the way call, and then the purpose is, why and when. So customer So it's really basic explanation of what is the purpose of this, why do we need this? And then our prep work is, so these are basically what we need to get this done. So I use a couple of tools in here. So the prep work is, we need access, let me just do this, access to, and then the tools that I used was Google Calendar, let's see, whoops, Trello, Ring Central, and and then GPS. So I use a couple of them. So in these, what I do here is make it very simple for whoever is completing this task. So like, for example, this website to my GPS tracking software, what I would do is I would go and create a link. So I don't know the link offhand, but let's just say it's globaltracking.com. Boom, same thing with here, a link to the calendar, a link to the Trello board, a link, to all this stuff. So they can just go ahead and start just clicking in. So they don't have to go back and ask, hey, where's the link to this? Or where's the link to that? Or like, what's the website? So you're able to do that. And then now we're 50% done already. So now all we have to do now is just have our step-by-step process, is to go in and do our tasks here. So the first thing you do is, you check Google Calendar to see team is on. So from there, and then you check the GPS. And then from there, so this way you eliminate even calling your team. You can see like, if they're driving, you can see if they stop somewhere. You don't have to give a call out to your team and say, are you on the road yet? Because you can see the GPS, you can see it, moving. The next thing is you would copy phone number. And this is where I put my subtasks. So this is, I made a note there, and this is specific to each company. Is how we do it in my company, is that we don't give exact ETAs. So give ETA, give location, guys, and shortly. And then I put in like if they press for an exact time. So so those are basically it right there. And then the last step would be to so now we have to put in our deliverable, which would be to the phone conversation. So upload phone conversation and mark. There we go. So now we have that. So now you see it only took us a few minutes here to complete out this SOP. The last thing we need to do is so take this out here. So now we put in our resources here. So now we have the video to the SOP or to the to the resources. So if someone needs to get more detailed explanation, how to do this, like a complete newbie, they'll have the link to the video. There you go. And now we have our SOP created. So now we move over to our automation section. So this is how we automate this task. This is how we make sure that this task gets completed. And before I go there, any questions on this portion at all?
No, I like it, and I'm assuming you've got this template set up already on your Google Docs, ready to go for whatever you run into.
Yep, exactly.
So it's really pretty easy. It's title, purpose, what preps do you need, and I'm assuming under preps you would say if you need to, like if you don't have a person for that particular job, well then part of the prep would be to hire or promote somebody to do that job, or assign somebody that will do that job as a double hat or something.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that brings us to our next section where we put in the automation where we assign somebody. So let me go ahead and go to there.
Oh, so you don't actually assign somebody on, like on that form, you don't actually go, the person in charge is blah.
No, I do this in my Trello board. So I go there and I assign, whoever is assigned to this process, because this could always change, whoever's in charge. But I set this up in my Trello board. So we'll go ahead and create the automation. So we'll label this as, oops, on the way call. So on the way call. All right. So here's my task. And now with the automation, we talked about, assign somebody, we talked about scheduling, we talked about resources. Mm-hmm. So that's what we'll do. We'll put in, a little description here. So this is so just a really deep, really high, this is all very high level overview. Really the whole point of all this is this really short text is that, these are really somebody that probably does this every day. My team does this every day, so they don't need, a whole long explanation. If they do, they would go into this explanation, which would be these resources. So now we're going to put in our resources, which is this SOP document. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this link to the SOP. So now this eliminates, someone going in like, hey, how do I find out how to do this? Then boom, it's right there. And then they have the link to the, one second, to the video as well. So they have the resources already inside, their task. So now that we completed out the, this is the part of the automation where they have the resources. Next is you have to have someone assigned to this. So, you can do this in your SOP too. Personally, I prefer to do this in my workflow. Mm-hmm. So I would create, I would assign somebody to this workflow, which is one of my assistants here, David. So I just assigned him to this, and he'll get a notification. So now I have my resources. I have the person assigned. Now I have to have this scheduled. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and schedule this. I'm going to go ahead and schedule this. Let's see, where is it? Dates. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to schedule this daily. Make this a daily task. And I'm going to make this for 7 days a week. And then I can set the priority, how I'm going to put this on top of my list because this is very important. And then let's say I want this done by 7:30, 7:30, just test purposes. So 7:30 in the morning. Now, every day, 7 days a week, this will create a task for David to complete this. So now I don't have to remind him and say, hey, you need to do this, you need to do this. And then also that I know that he completes the steps, I'll go ahead and create a little checklist for him too. So I'll go ahead and create a little checklist and say, call a customer. And this is where you reinforce your deliverable. So I'll call the customer and then upload phone conversation. So I go there. So he has to complete out these tasks and I can see, has he completed out these tasks? So now I have an automation set up. And then let's say that I was going through this and, I had to complete all this out. Then if I was David, I'd go ahead, I'll call the customer and then I'd go through and actually, I'll show you how this works. And you go ahead and I guess you got to move this over. So if I'm working on this, then I would work it over moving. So I know that I can show that this is actually being worked on. So I'm calling the customer. I go in, so I call them. My next step is to give my deliverable. So that's the phone conversation. So I'll go ahead and do that right now. I'll just go in and download a recording, just any old one. So I'll go here and download my deliverable. And then I'll go back here and then same thing as in the video. I'll go ahead into my attachments and then upload my deliverable. Boom. Now I have that. So this is proof of completion. Complete out my tasks, X out the card, and mark it as complete. Now I know that every day, I know that, my, my tasks are being completed. I know that I don't need to go to David and be like, hey, why didn't you complete this? Or like, where is, I can go in the task and say, what about this tab? I don't have to, I can go through the whole month, let's say all of last month of September. I can go through and I can see every time this was completed, and I have proof of completion.
So do you have processes? So what happens if, on a couple things, now you're away, right? And there's this old adage, when the cat's away, the mice will play. So how do you besides this, what happens if they say, okay, they checked and said that the task is done, but they really didn't do it? Do you have a process that handles, false reporting of statistics or tasks?
Yeah, great. So that's all goes like, with like reviews, like when you're going back for raises, you track all this stuff. I do have, and I do have one process in place that really helps out with not necessarily for this, but for something where I have to constantly tell somebody like the same, if I'm having to repeat myself over and over again, I have a tracker. It's called problem list. So like, let's say, for example, like a waiver, and I've explained, let's say, for example, the customer wants to do something that's unsafe,
Mhm.
or, and they say it's fine, but you need this in writing, that they're going to come back and sue us, or we're on the hook for this.
Mhm.
So I have that in my problem list, and I create solutions. I have a separate, documentation where I go through, what to do if somebody's smoking on the job, what to do when this happens. And I have this all outlined. So when I track all the stuff, when this stuff comes up, or something keeps repeating himself, it's very important to keep documented what keeps happening, or whatever problem you have in your business is you have to document it so you can go back and address it.
And I notice on your Trello is just basically another way to set up your processes, it seems like, too. So, I mean, you're doing your process, but then you're going to really duplicate that process into the Trello. Like you got your checklist, like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 kind of thing, all the way down. So you could really do that and put your process in Trello. So you have a written process that you can train somebody on against. Plus you could have that in the employee handbooks and stuff like that. But then you also reinforce it again in your Trello software.
Yeah. So I can go in through and I look for, if there's a task that's completed, and I reinforce the deliverable, which is very important, because I can go through and I can see if there's missing steps in there, or I have a process in place where, my customer messages need to be responded to in a minimum of 2 hours. And then in that process, you have to, say what the last message was and at what time. So that's why it's so important to have that deliverable. And so you're not checking work, you're not going through, and you can skim through this, and I can just see as my day goes on, what's being worked on, what's getting completed, without having to really like micromanage. And nobody likes to be micromanaged, and I don't like micromanaging people either.
Right. And I'm getting the vibe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the vibe is that you really get down to a very granular minutia level where you're, oh, look at that, you're getting a call in.
Yeah. So that's that's fine.
Awesome. We'll get rid of that in edit. So you're getting down to a really granular level. You're getting down. So you're taking even the most mundane, very small task and go, okay, here's the process. Even if the process is only 3 or 4 steps, you're going to create a process for that. So to handle everything. Am I correct?
Yeah, exactly. So anything that gives me even a slight inconvenience, I just, create a process for it, how to complete this out, and then I delegate it, so I don't have to keep going through the same thing and over again. And I see that's like the biggest sticking point of most, business owners when they first starting out, is that they're putting all their fires themselves in these. If you follow somebody for a week, you'll see that the same thing happens over and over and over and over again. So it's really attacking even the small mundane things that will really set you free.
Now, I got a question for you. So we're talking about the process. You got the daily task when it's scheduled. So you got the hourly, daily, weekly, monthly tasks, etc. that you got, and those are set in stone, and people know exactly when and how to do them, right? But then you got the triggered one, which I think was just genius. That was just genius. But let's say the truck breaks down, and so that they need to call the tow truck. How do they know what process to work? Where do they find the process to call the thing? What do they do? Like, so if your crew leader's out on the road, how does he know to start to trigger that particular checklist?
Yeah, great question. So as far as like my boots on the ground, if you will, I don't expect them to really do this problem solving themselves. This is more for, my office staff, they own the task. So they call into the office. My office has, a folder where they go, and I don't expect my team on the ground to call the tow truck and figure all this out. I don't put any of that on them. It's more for my trained office staff that know, how to do this, how to talk to, customers, know how to deal with these situations. So they have access to SOP folder. So they have, SOP folder that they go through, and okay, they'll be able to click on the tow truck one and then go through and follow it. And this is all done through, the office staff. It's not done through the, my boots on the ground. I'd rather have my office staff that has access. They have access to, credit cards. They have access, to GPS software to explain exactly where they are. They have more access to things, because if my team on the ground, they don't have access to my credit card or my accounts or anything like that. It's from my office. That's really important to have too, is like, even if there's a task that's on the ground, it still needs to be put on for a higher chain of command to make sure that gets completed.
I got you. Now, is your processes only on the computer, like in Google Files or Google Docs, or do you also have it printed out in like printed form so they can actually open a folder and go, okay, good, blah, blah, blah?
Very good questions. All my stuff is digital. So I have, digital, I have digital training guides. I have digital, everything is digital. The only thing that's printed is my waiver forms. So I have some in the truck, some waiver forms, but as far as everything from like my insurance, everything from training documentation, training resources, everything's all digital.
Excellent. Okay. Now here's a question. When you got guys on the field and they have to have a waiver signed, you got to process, okay, if such and such occurrence happens, then you got to, here's the process, have them fill out the waiver or credit card form or whatever, if that's not already done. So you do obviously have some processes for the guys on the field, correct?
Yeah, I do. But even like that, for that process, they would call in to us, and then we take care of that with the customer. We own that conversation. I don't expect any of my team to have those, like anything with billing or damages or, things like that. I want either like, myself or someone from my office team to take care of that situation, to own, making sure, because like, okay, they get this paper copy signed or whatever. Now, what if they lose it? I have a DocuSign for this where, gets emailed out to them. And I want that. I'd rather have that conversation owned by my office team rather than, I guess, my boots on the ground.
So your boots on the ground, the actual guys who are doing the produce, that's all they do is produce. And if a problem comes up, they call the office, said, hey, problem X. And then the person in the office in charge of that, they go, oh, problem X. They go to the computer, type it in, project X thing. They do the system, blah, 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 send off whatever they need to send off, call the customer, whatever the process says. And then bada boom, and your guys can just concentrate on producing.
Exactly. Because I mean, if something were to happen, like I never want my team, just imagine, you have, moving hands, and the customer gets upset and they start saying things to, to your helpers, and, how would they respond? I don't know how sometimes they'll react, but I'd rather have someone that's trained in handling customers, trained handling difficult conversations, if you will, that I know is someone that I've trained, that's gone through my, my training of how to handle situations when a customer is upset or, whatever. I'd rather have someone trained to handle those situations.
Right. But even on your boots and ground, you have to have them trained enough to know, hey, okay, this is out of the usual. So let's say hypothetically, the customer wants you to drive on their lawn, right? And you're like, well, okay, but like I had a waiver for that. If you want me to drive on your lawn, great, we'll drive on your lawn, but here's a waiver that you've got to sign. So you've got to at least train your crew leader to know enough to go, okay, this is out of the usual, so I got to call into the office. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a whole training course for for my helpers. So they go through that. They go pretty extensive, techniques. I even teach them through etiquette, how to, how to behave yourself and all that stuff. So they get trained on all that. So everything like that is, I think you've seen the group where I've posted my course and yeah.
And that's what all these questions we're trying to lead up to.
Yeah.
Training. How do you train people on this? I mean, because you can't just go, okay, here's a folder, you hire a new office person for hypothetically, to help with the office work, right? They're not going to know, that there's process X solves this problem unless they're trained.
Yeah.
So how do you train your guys? How do you go and go, okay, good, this is what you need to do and how to do it? Do you have a process for that and a system for that?
Yeah, great question. So I take all these processes and I guess all my little templates and I create a course out of it. So I go through and, in my company, you go through and before you touch anything, you learn about, my company, you learn about me, you learn about etiquette, you learn about, you basically before you even jump on the truck, you just learning about the company. I'm constantly creating materials, new training stuff to add in there. So that's the latest edition was my, etiquettes where, to dress like the, if, guys smoking or, let's say like, using inappropriate language or things like that. That's something that, you would assume that would be common sense, but sometimes it's really not common sense. So they go through that and, 1 second. So they go through that and then what I do is they learn all the techniques, learn about the tools, the techniques, and then from there they go through a simulation. So they go through and I have a storage unit where it's they got like furniture and they start padding and learning how to stack the truck, and then they go on and they're as an actual person on the job and with a trainer, so it doesn't interrupt the moving process. For example, if there's a 2-man team, they're working, they're doing their own thing, then I'll have a trainer and then the new guy training separately. So that you have 2 guys going at full speed, and then we just have somebody off in the corner learn how to pad or
Nice.
stack the truck.
Nice. Well, do you have any more left of your presentation, or is that it?
Just a really small portion was just the optimizing.
Okay.
That's cutting the learning curve. I mean, I've thrown a lot of information. I've thrown a lot, out there, and what do you say to the person that is overwhelmed by everything that I'm talking about, or says to themselves, I don't have the time. So for that, we talk about optimization. So as I mentioned, I don't sit down, I don't create materials, I don't sit down and write SOPs until my hand hurts. So I have to streamline this is to hire a virtual assistant. So I have processes to create processes. They help you with your SOP writing. You'll create a video, you shoot it off to them. They create the template for you. They'll create the task for you. They'll schedule it. They'll do phone calls. Like as you see, like there's a phone call came in. They'll answer the phone call for you, do your sales, do all that. So that's one of the quickest ways to really streamline your operation of automating your business. Having that workflow, so assigning, delegating people to task, and then you can have that bird's eye view. So I can take a look in, what is being worked on. I can, as I'm looking at my Trello board, I see the moving parts. I see, what's getting done without me saying, what did you do today, or what are you up to? And then creating your online courses. So like now that you have all your material, you punch this into your your training course. These are for your new hires, so for your new movers, your new office staff. you have a continued learning program. Let's say you have, your lead person that, you promoted him and he's going to work in the office now. And, he'll have the material to go in and to run with it. And then also having a scalable system. So if you want to open up another location, who's going to train these people at your new place, give them all the materials and run with it. So, and then finally, the last portion, which is the quickest way, would be to hire an expert. So having somebody to go there and really, guide you through the process, look at, if you already have something set up, to really look it over it and, make some little tweaks to really improve your, your company, and, or even get like their playbook and then, have it step by step, do step 1, 2, 3. You can do it all yourself, or, go as far as hiring them to do it all for you. So just having a done for you system, set it all up so you can just continue working on your business.
Great, man. That's awesome. Do you do this as a service? Like, can somebody hire you before I say, hey, is this something you do, or no?
Yeah, it's something that I've been asked. I really didn't realize like that I was good at this until people started coming to me and asking me, and I've helped people in YouTube, people in e-commerce, and some other people that have come to me, messaged me, they reached out, that have now this is something that I want to start charging for, because I feel like enough people have come to me that I should probably start helping people.
Awesome.